From the Land-Grant University in Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, this is the Closing Market Report. It is the 18th day of August, 2025. I'm Extension's Todd Gleason. It's the Pro Farmer Crop Tour Week. We'll have updates from both the eastern and the western legs today. We'll hear about the marketplace with Curt Kimmel from agmarket.net. And there's a big announcement from University of Illinois Extension. We'll find out more as we make our way through this Monday edition of the Closing Market Report from Illinois Public Media.
Todd Gleason services are made available to WILL by University of Illinois Extension.
September corn for the day at $3.83, finished 3/4 cent lower. December up a penny and a quarter at 406 1/2, and the March at 424 1/4, up 1 3/4. November beans at 1041 1/4, a penny and a quarter lower, and the January at $10.60, down a penny and a half for the day. Here to talk about these numbers and what's been happening at the CME Group is Curt Kimmel from agmarket.net. And I know, Curt, that you have been watching the first day of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour, but there's a whole lot happening in the world, including Washington, D.C., and what's taking place between President Trump, President Zelensky, and those from Europe as well. What was the trade mostly focused on?
Well, it's probably none of the above. It was the most quiet, stable trade I've seen on a Monday for years. I traded both sides. The market finished mixed for the most part, so I think the trade's kind of comfortable until the next shoe drops. As far as the outside news is political and across the world, something will happen probably 2 o'clock in the morning on that. But it's an ongoing process as far as Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S. We'll see how that unfolds. Probably a bigger thing that's on hold is Chinese demand, where we are with them. So that's an ongoing process. But the main focus is, of course, the Midwest tour that's taking place. I heard multiple different things. I don't know. A lot of it was not compared to a year ago, but Karen Braun, she had one earlier this morning in the southeast, South Dakota there. Corn yields 33% above a year ago. Pod counts up 7%. The corn yield was 198, and before it was 149. And pod counts was 1305, and the previous 5 years was 1225. So that's what you got to look at. They go on the same route year after year, and so they'll have it compared to the average, and that'll give the trade an idea later this evening when you see those totals. Some spots were good. Tip back was evident in just about all of the pictures for the most part. Disease, there's some pictures of some disease pressure, fungus pressure. We'll see how this affects the crop here as we go forward. Big thing is it's a good crop. How big it is, that's out to the jury to decide here as we move clear into next year, actually.
We'll talk with Sherman Newland from Risk Management Commodities in just a bit. He is traveling with Karen. In fact, I know there was a really big number that pulled. They pulled at one stop. Unbelievable number for South Dakota. It may have thrown their average up a little bit. We'll see how that all throws out. And we'll get those numbers tonight. If folks are interested, they can see historical numbers from the Pro Farmer Tours from 22, 23, and 24 on our website. When the numbers for tonight are posted for South Dakota and Indiana, those will be up too. And you can hear again whatever is taking place. We'll follow that really closely. It was a quiet day in Chicago. I'm wondering, when you look at the charts, how you're feeling about the corn market particularly, and if soybeans and corn can manage to stay sideways to higher into the harvest time frame or not.
That's a good question, because a year ago, I believe we bottomed on August 26. The December corn futures itself bottoms out at 485. Last week's low was 492. Is that close enough, or do we want to go down and make a new low here a little bit later on? Lead contract was 365. So there's some ideas, under $4 might be enough for now. Seasonally, traditionally, we see some lows during this time window. Momentum indicators did give a bullish trend divergence on corn particularly. So we'll see if that takes traction and goes up and takes out the downtrend line and try to get something to go in through here. The thing is, if the futures have a little giddy up and going through here, the cash is probably going to struggle with the crop coming on, and the basis could widen out. So we're playing a little bit of cat and mouse here between the cash market and the futures market, Todd.
Anything from the livestock market?
The feeder cattle market particularly continues to be a bottle rocket. There's just no top to it whatsoever. The feeder's ability to close above this 350 area kind of opens the door to continue to march higher here. Brian, our technical analyst, feels there's probably, if we stay above 350, there's another $4 or $5 to the upside.
Thank you much, Curt. Curt Kimmel is with agmarket.net. One quick news item for the day. Dr. Matthew Vann has been appointed the new Associate Dean and Director of Extension. Dr. Vann brings more than a decade of extension leadership and applied research experience, most recently at North Carolina State University. There he also led the departmental extension programming in the Department of Crop and Soil Sciences. His work has focused on aligning science with community needs, strengthening statewide partnerships, and expanding the reach and relevance of extension in both rural and urban settings. He is deeply committed to the values that define the land-to-grant tradition and brings a forward-looking perspective grounded in collaboration, service, and responsiveness. We'll have more, I know, with Dr. Vann in the near future. The Pro Farmer Crop Tour is underway across 7 Midwestern states today. All week we'll be checking in on both the eastern and the western legs. We'll start with Lane Acree. He is an economist at Pro Farmer and sets the stage as it relates to Ohio.
Ohio is going to be a key focus. Last year's crop came in a little bit below what we expected, below a record crop. But this year, USDA is anticipating the second biggest crop ever coming out of Ohio. We're driving into Indiana, and USDA is expecting a record crop in Indiana. There's a lot of question whether or not the crop's going to get there. We've had a lot of rain throughout the growing season, and with the really hot temperatures that we've had with the wetness, there's a lot of concerns about disease pressure. So we'll see where this crop ends up. We'll see what it looks like. We'll be taking samples periodically, randomly, using the same routes we've used for 30 years.
The crop tour goes back a little further than 30 years. Its roots go all the way back to the 1970s when corn growers here in the state of Illinois kicked it off. It was picked up by the Illinois Farm Bureau eventually, and AgriVisor, their marketing side at the time, managed the program. The way the tour operates today, in fact, still really hasn't changed since then. In 1989, I went to the field with the AgriVisor crop tour.
You know, they've got 60 more days to go easy, and you're getting into the frost state there.
The roundtable discussion. In the heartland of America, it is often a source of information, a way for farmers to keep up on crop conditions in their neighbor's field. But in a world where agricultural trade encompasses the globe, it falls far short of any real value. These people are in search of a broader perspective. They are floor traders from the Futures Exchange in Chicago, grain merchandisers from the United States, Japan, and Germany, U.S. Department of Ag officials, agricultural meteorologists, and journalists. The one common thread they share is a desire for more information on the American corn crop. But sitting around a table is not how they have come by such valuable information. They are AgriVisor crop tour scouts and have spent the day on the road and in the cornfield gathering vital statistics on the 1989 corn crop.
starting spot with that one. We won't count that one. We'll start with this plant. If you'll hold that tape measure, I'll sing out when we got 17.5.
Tour host and agrivisor market analyst Jim Quinton is making corn yield calculations. To ensure randomness, the calculations are made the same distance into the field each stop, 36 paces in from the edge. He lays off a one-row strip, equal to 1/1000th of an acre. In this particular case, the test strip is 17½ feet long. The number of plants in the strip are counted and multiplied by 1,000 to obtain a total plant count for the entire acre.
18, 19 ears in 1/1000th of an acre, so that's like a 19,000 plant population. For our random selection, we'll take the 7th, the 11th, and the 13th ear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Peel that down, look at the grain in that cob.
The number of ears on the plants are counted, and then once again, to ensure randomness, the same ear numbers from each strip are taken for the final counts in the yield calculations.
8, 9, 10, number 11.
In this case, the ear numbers are the 7th, 11th, and 13th ears in the test strip.
And now number 13. These are 3 randomly selected ears in the sample. And this one is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 18. So we got 18, 18, and 16. That's an average of 17.3. And the length of kernels on the cob here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
For the final
7,
calculation, the number of
10,
kernels
11,
around each
12,
and the length of each of the 3 ears are counted and
18,
averaged.
19, 20,
Then all the
21,
calculations are
22,
translated onto the corn yield calculator. It is actually a slide rule.
30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Call it 38. And on the calculator then, if we use number of rows of kernels around the cob, it averaged 17.3. And the length of kernels we'll call 38. So we'll set 38 on about 17.3. Oops, that's down there. There we go. And we had 19,000 plants. That's 139 bushels to the acre, assuming that the kernel weight will be normal weight. That's what this corn yield calculator cannot do, is tell you whether the kernel size itself is going to be bigger than, smaller than, or about normal.
From here, it's another 20 miles on the road to the next stop. The car talk centers on one thing: crop conditions. Jim Quinton.
Okay, if dry matter accumulates in the corn kernel at the rate of 10% or 1% per day for the first 10 days, 2% per day for the next 40 after pollination, and then 1% per day for the final 10 days, that'd be 60 days span to have 100% dry matter accumulation from pollination to black layer formation. If this corn is pollinated on August 20th, and you got a killing freeze on September 30th, you would be at the 70 percentile of dry matter accumulation when the day the corn plant died. If that calculated yield for that spot was 192 bushels, that'd cut you down to 130 bushels of yield right then and there, overnight. That's all that field would have. And it'd be 130 bushels of some of the most ungodly crap you ever took to an elevator.
20 miles later, it's out of the car and into the field again, where we find just such a situation.
Depending on how these latest stalks pollinate, it could make almost 30 bushels difference in the yield of this particular field. And it's very, very late, and I think we have to question whether even the late stalks will make it before frost.
As you come up on the field from the road in here, this field looks like a good field. If you're just driving by it, I mean, it's probably 12 feet tall or better, and green as can be, and there's plenty of moisture out here. Throw you?
Well, that's the old windshield method. And the old windshield method is okay for vegetative matter, but it's not okay for counting grain.
Just over 40 participants rode in 8 cars on this 6-day, 3-day crop tour. What they found was a crop better than suspected, holding its own on the drought-stricken western corn belt and coming out in the rain-soaked east. One other note from the tour. We were reminded of a childhood rule: look both ways before you cross the road.
Just a quick
Woo, baby!
Let's check in now on the eastern leg of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. We're now joined by Oliver Sloop. He is with Blue Line Futures. You might recognize him from either Bar Chart or AgWeb. Thank you, Oliver, for being with us. Quick, if you could, tell me a little bit about Blue Line.
Sure. Blue Line Futures is an independent futures and commodities brokerage firm. We're headquartered out of the Chicago Board of Trade. We've got a great team in-house that, as you mentioned, puts out a lot of great daily content. My niche area is the grain and livestock markets, and my colleagues cover precious metals, energies, indices, etc. So we've got, again, a great team in-house that puts together a lot of great information, kind of give our clients a playbook for the day and what's going on in the markets.
You have a great deal of historical depth there at the CME Group, particularly in the CBOT with Lynn Waldock. I read about that. I'm looking forward to hearing what you've been seeing on the Eastern Leg. First, are you traveling the same area you normally do, and how many years have you done that?
This is my fourth year. And we are on a different route than we have had in the years prior. We're on a split route, so half of our crew covers one half of the route, and then we're covering the other half. And we're obviously started in Ohio with a meeting last night. So the other half of our team is checking Ohio. We jump straight over into Indiana. And so far, from what we've seen, it's kind of been lackluster. The USDA set a really, really high bar on expectations. And I think even prior to the USDA, people had pretty lofty expectations of what was out there. But the tip back seems to be a reoccurring theme that I didn't think that we would see as frequently. Now we're only, 6, 7, 8 stops in so far today, but it has popped up more frequently than I would have guessed. So something interesting of note there. I talked to a farmer in Bernay, Indiana earlier this morning, and he was talking about the similarities between this year and last year and talking about the need for moisture and rain. They've got a 50% chance tomorrow, and then after that, there's really nothing on the forecast for 10 days or so. So they still need some rain to finish these crops out.
You are headed eventually to just north of Indianapolis. Where does your route run today?
So we started kind of hopped over near Fort Wayne and just working our way through Adams County, Wells County, Blackford, Jay, Madison, Grant, etc. Then we'll just stop, as you mentioned, just north of Indianapolis. So we're probably about halfway done through the day. Still got a lot of fields to check. But I think even talking with other scouts that I've formed relationships with throughout the years, living up to the expectations that the USDA put, I think is going to be pretty difficult to do as of now.
Do you have a running tally on the tour average so far for your route?
For our route, I don't have it averaged out, but we've seen a pretty wide range. I think the lowest that we have is 161, and the highest right now is 235. So kind of right in the middle. Historically, looking at how that compares to last year, maybe about the same, maybe a little bit better in some of these counties. But again, to the lofty expectations that have been set, I would say we're falling short of that.
That's Oliver Sloop of Blue Line Futures. He's on the eastern leg of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Now joining us from the western leg is Sherman Newland. We know him from Risk Management Commodities. However, there is an incorporation between Risk Management and Zaner Ag Hedge. Thank you, Sherman, in your new capacity. You're traveling out west with, eventually, Ted Seifert, who's also going to be on our program. Thank you for being with us. And I bet you're looking forward to the new adventure and collaboration between these two companies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we merged with them. Karen Braun came on board as well, so I think that's going to be a huge plus with her analysis. So I think when you put it all together, we're going to be able to offer clients hopefully a lot better insight, and analysis into what the markets might be doing and where they might be going.
Now, I know you're traveling with Karen today, and she does the data work. Do you have a route average for corn and soybeans so far, and how many places have you visited in South Dakota?
We do, sir, yes. We've had 10 stops in South Dakota. Soybeans, 1,331 pod average. That's up 7% year over year. Corn, we've got a 185.3 average. That is up 22% year over year, which was last year was 152.4. So far, I mean, most of the stops have been better.
And so you're in a pretty decent area of South Dakota. Is it irrigated or non-irrigated?
Some of it's irrigated. Now, we haven't sampled any irrigated fields.
I bet you have been impressed if that's dryland fields in that case.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it rained last night. So, we got mud sticking to our shoes on every stop. So basically, we headed straight south out of Sioux Falls, Todd, and then we went over to the west a couple of counties and then jogged back south and worked our way down to Yankton.
How many years have you run this particular route, and how does it compare to the past?
This is my fifth year running this route. This is my 8th year on tour. But yeah, comparing, to the past, it's better. You can just tell we are finding some disease. There is some southern rust and, a little bit of gray leaf spot out through there. But, overall, the plant conditions, it's lush, it's green. Things look pretty darn good. From everything that we've seen. It's if we have a good finish, I think they've got a good potential for some, really good crops. I mean, one of our stops we had on corn a 272 average. That was our third stop on the day. And then our last stop in Yankton County, we had an average of 221.9.
Those are some stellar yields for that part of the world.
Yeah. No, yes. I mean, yes, it is. And we had some 140s and some 190s in there. But yeah, we've had some pretty good, yields, and pods are too. I mean, the pod count's up. I think our first stop, we had over 1,500 pods, 1,552 pods, and which is significantly higher than what it usually is. So, one of our stops we had 2,014 pods. So pod count's up. If we can finish, I think they're going to have a pretty darn good bean crop out here as well. But the corn, everything is, yards are lush, everything's green. Overall, things are looking pretty good for this area.
All right. Thanks much, Sherman. We'll talk with you again tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Sherman Newland is traveling on the western leg of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. He's in South Dakota today. Last year, the Pro Farmer Tour showed a 155.51 bushel to the acre yield. USDA has this year at 168 bushels to the acre. If you'd like to learn more about the crop tour, you can hear these interviews again and see some of the tour averages as they're released overnight on our website at willag.org. That's willag.org. It is public radio for the farming world. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow with more from the crop tour and, of course, updates on what's happening in the commodity markets as well. And the weather forecast. We'll hear from Don Day tomorrow at Day Weather in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm University of Illinois Extension's Todd Gleason.